right, it's another Friday night episode of Keto Rocks Radio. I'm Jim Hobbs, and down below, I believe, or somewhere's on the screen, is my carnivore co-host, Brian Forsythe of the band Kix and Rhino Bucket. Brian, how'd this weekend's concerts go?
Good. It was 2 nights at the same venue, so that's always an easy weekend because you only have to do one sound check and you leave everything set up. And it was funny because the first night, I had gotten in the night before, so the first day I was there, I was like scoping out like somewhere to eat, and I found a Five Guys right by the hotel. So I went and had a pile of burgers.
I need to have one of those bells. Every time you say Five Guys or play, I hit the ding, 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 ding. So yeah. Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, but anyway, so after sound check, like the road crew guys were looking for something to eat, and the other guys, and they ended up finding this place around the corner called, what was it, Jack's? I should know the name of this so I don't get it wrong. I think it was Jack's Family Pub or something like that, or Family Grill Pub or something. But it was right around the corner from the venue, and they came back raving about it, and they said, "Oh man, there was this guy sitting at the next table, and he had this big hunk of meat so big it was hanging off the side of the plate." So now I'm like, oh, I know where I'm going tomorrow. So that's where I went.
And it was big because I saw you didn't eat it all either.
Yeah, it was a show day, and it was a non-workout day, and I can't eat as much on those days. So I saved it, and because I brought one of those insulator bags with some ice packs, because I went out to an Amish farm as well on Saturday and bought 4 pounds of raw butter.
Ooh.
So I just shoved that piece of prime rib down in that bag with it and brought it home.
Good for you. A good score. Yeah. Was raw butter cheaper in Pennsylvania, or?
Well, actually, it was way more than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's got to be good though, right?
Yeah, but they're a fairly well-known farm. They advertise online and everything, so that's probably why it was expensive. But I didn't try it yet because I still have some other butter up there that Linda sent me.
Awesome. Well, we have a special guest joining us tonight. Asked to be a friend of mine. He's from Culpeper, Virginia, Stephen Found. So welcome to the show, Stephen. How are you, brother?
Doing great. Good to see you guys tonight.
Awesome. He's got a great story. He's been hearing me talk about keto for years, and so I'm gonna just let him tell his story. What finally, either he went keto to shut me up, or he went keto because he said, "Let me just find out what all this talks about." So I'll let him speak why he went keto.
Why I went keto? That's an excellent question. I think I tried it maybe back when you guys first started talking about it. I think way back when I first heard you talk about it, I thought it was some sort of, I think we were talking earlier, some sort of funky multi-level marketing scheme to, sell powdered products in fancy jars of some sort. I don't know what it was, but I didn't really get a hold of it. But then, like a lot of things that stick around, the credibility factor of this whole deal started to kind of go up. And then you started seeing a lot of pictures, especially with, being able to see stuff right away online of people, their before and afters and kind of the weight loss aspect of it. But I think that, I have tried a couple of things over the years, to try to keep my weight at bay. Not like I'm a, big guy or anything like that, but in this world at my height, I'm considered obese. And I think that with a recent run through all the talk of comorbidity, because of COVID and things like that, I'm like, you know what? Jim's been on this doing this deal for a while, and he has talked about nothing but how good he feels. And if I have any way to impact or be a part of keeping myself in one piece at my advanced age, then I'm gonna give it a shot, because you talk about ribeyes and prime rib. No one loves steak as much as I do, or meat as much as I do. We raised Black Angus cattle when I was a kid, and we had steaks cut 2 inches thick. I mean, you just doesn't get any better than that. You can't mess that up, you know, because you're starting from such a great place. So it's not like we were allergic to meat in my family, and with three brothers, there was always plenty of it. But, you know, the bottom line is that I just said it's like a lot of things in my life. We were also talking about how I'm not 14 anymore. I'm an adult now. And what I need to do is I need to listen to the people who are telling me about things that are good for me, because I trust them or I've gotten to know them and we have a relationship. It's not like you just, you know, rang the doorbell and said, have I got a deal for you? So, you know, I've been at it for a month now. What do we decide? 32 days. And, you know, I feel better. And I think that was the big thing. Was it wasn't so much about weight loss. It was about a lifestyle. And I like the idea of having a different lifestyle, because the whole idea that I got to lose X number of pounds by X number, I'm too old to be, you know, pressured like that. So I'm having some real good food and some real good results in terms of how I feel just in general. So that's it in a nutshell, basically.
Well, tell everybody how much weight you lost.
So after 32 days, it's 19.5 pounds.
That's awesome.
So,
That's pretty significant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I've done that part before. So the key is not necessarily 19.5, but I've seen that this works. That idea of ketosis and you know, burning the, you know, what's there in your body rather than adding it in and all of those things. And I'll mess up the terminology, I'm sure, but you know, the idea that it is something that can be sustained versus, oh my gosh, I got to lose this much weight. I mean, I was up to about 250 and I felt like a pig, quite frankly. You know, I was just saying, I hurt all over. I couldn't, you know, I was to the point where I was like bending over to tie my shoes was a problem. I was out of breath trying to do that because my diaphragm, you know, all those things. But already the difference in terms of just lifestyle is huge. So we're going for 195. That's where, you know, there's a good number there someplace, and who knows, you know, where we'll really get. But so anyway, that's
your body literally will go where it needs to go. So
right.
You know, don't pick a number. Just let your body do what it does. And as long as you keep giving the fuel to maximize your body's power, you're going to be right. You're going to be fine. I mean, you've done great so far.
Yeah. And like I say, the how I feel, I mean, my general well-being is what is at the top of my list in terms of what I would like to get out of this. And so far that's good, doing great.
Yeah.
What
As
was
a
the
little side
hardest
story,
part?
I do have to tell you that I did discover 90% chocolate last night, or 90% cocoa chocolate. I hope that's not a sin that I've just confessed to, but according to my limited research, that high cocoa powder chocolate can be a part of the experience. So,
well, listen.
You tell me if I'm wrong on that one.
Being a chocoholic, now Brian may correct you, but I'm a chocoholic. And the new studies that I saw today, matter of fact, Brother Conover called me up. He said, hey, see what your dark chocolate does? It reduces your risk of heart attacks and stroke by 40%.
Jeez.
But now, just so everybody knows, I'm not saying go out there and just, you know, you got to buy the high percentage dark chocolate, and you're still not going to pig out on it. You want to have just a little bit of it. That's just my 2 cents. I'll let Brian correct me now if he wants to.
Well, for me, anything that has any little bit of sweetness, it just sucks me right back in. So when I was trying to get off of all that stuff, I would buy 100% chocolate, like the no sweetener. I mean, it was completely bitter, and I would just put salt on it instead of sugar. And just the fact that it was the salt and the chocolate, somehow it satisfied that craving. And that's kind of how I got over it. I don't even think about it anymore. But
I think that was my reaction, was when I tried it last night after not having had it for just a month. I mean, I wasn't a big chocolate eater. I was like, it's okay. You know, it's cool. I can live without it. You know, I'm kind of there with you on that.
Yeah. But I mean, if it doesn't like send you off into some weird binge, you know, then I think it's probably okay.
Yeah, I was telling Jim that one of the challenges is meal prep, is getting my food ready when I have to go, do my office work. I've got about a 40-mile commute, and I've got a limited time to eat a meal. So getting that lined up, because I don't want to end up at the vending machines, shaking as I try to stay away from the change machine or something like that, or the credit card machine. But that's not a big deal either. There's the good news is there's always seems to be a big batch of something that I have made. So I was taught as a kid how to cook chili to last myself for a week. Cook as a bachelor, you're going to cook for a week to last. So you don't have to be cooking every day. So it's not something I'm unused to. So
yeah. And you can always cook like a pound of bacon at a time and just keep them in a little baggie.
Or soft-boiled or hard-boiled eggs. Have those in the fridge. Take them in the little cooler with you on the way to your place of employment.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing now in regards to going back to school? I mean, I think that's awesome.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I have decided, or have been led, if you will, to kind of join the battle, is the way that I've described it. And that's kind of what kind of happened really rapidly. I've been working for a company for the last 7 or 8 years, and they've been really good to me, and I've really enjoyed the time. But this thing happened the other day where I just had a sense that all the talk about the opioid deaths that are occurring, especially in our town here, a little town called Culpeper, Virginia. I got a real sense, just kind of washed right over me, that I needed to get in and to do something to help. And it is in my nature already to be a person who helps. I'm an encourager. Hospitality is one of my gifts, if you will, and helping others is really been a key. And I have a background, I'm currently in long-term recovery. So the idea that I would somehow jump into the battle and help folks, even if it was just one person who didn't end up dying, because they didn't have to, would be worth it. So I jumped in and signed up for some graduate classes at Liberty in counseling, and I'm also I'm on day 2. Today was day 2 of a peer recovery specialists program. It's an 8-day program where you learn how to be a peer recovery specialist, which is basically saying, you're talking to somebody one-on-one, you're meeting them where they are, and you're sharing your experience with them to help them get to a point where they, where they want to be. And that was given to me as a title or a position that I could try to do, to see if I even like the counseling thing. As long-term recovery goes, we do a lot of this anyway, but this seemed like to be, maybe a more formal way to go about it, and an actual profession. So we'll see. It's just some training for now, but this stuff gets me jacked up. And so if you throw that on top of, the schedule now, which has work and training and school and keto, it's really like, it's spiritual, physical rigor,
Well, tell her, and everybody doesn't know, you're also the owner, and you run a Airbnb in Culpeper, in the historical district of Culpeper. So, your
right.
schedule is full.
Yeah, well, well, I don't know if biblically, I think of Moses, he was 80 something years old when he kind of got going on life. And I'm not even close to 80 yet, but things are starting to get faster, not slow down. And that's awesome. Because if I were to contemplate this 10 years ago, there's just no way that I could imagine being able to fit it all in. But that's why I think that's why being healthy and feeling good and having a sense of well-being is so important through diet, for example, where you do have that extra energy. And that's something that that you had told me about, and that I had read about keto, is that this energy, people talk about how they have greater energy. And again, I still get plenty of sleep, and I still do what I need to do to take care of myself. But yeah, I've got a 1921 house here in town, and I've turned the house into basically a high-end Airbnb. You know, there's a lot of Airbnbs out there that, you know, Johnny went off to college. They've got a twin bed and a pennant on the wall, and that's your room. Well, we've taken it to the next level here, and you know, we've turned this into, you know, your home away from home, and it's a 5-star, you know, experience here in this old house. You know, with the tall ceilings and the big windows and a beautiful garden out back, and the town here in Culpeper, as you know, Jim, has got some really nifty places to go. Not to mention the hiking that's about 30 miles away on the Skyline Drive. There's a ton of you know, wedding venues and vineyards and lots of history to see in this area, and a really nifty little downtown. So,
and now on Saturdays when you stay there, you're going to have Stephen Found cooking your ribeyes in the backyard.
That's right. As I have to get that cast iron skillet in house, so before, and the sous vide, so we can really go for it. But yeah, so it's a really exciting time. I mean, you know, I guess, you know, thinking about my dad, he retired when he was 55 because as an airline pilot, that's when you could retire. And he hasn't sat on his rocking chair here, 25, 30 years later. He's still moving too. So I guess it must be in the DNA of the family that, you know, no one's really retiring anywhere anyhow here. So it's all good.
Well, you got to stay in motion. So you got to keep moving. So keep moving is health.
Yeah, well, our next goal is to get out on the pickleball court, I guess, at some point, right?
Yeah. I'm looking. We got to play. We haven't played yet. We got to play. It's getting nice out. We need to start doing that for sure. Brian, you got any questions for Mr. Found?
Yeah, you mentioned a few things along the way there. Yeah, the whole thing about, you know, getting healthy and eating healthy. It's like, you know, you want to live a long life, but you want to be able to enjoy that long life, you know, not end up in some nursing home, you know. Yeah. But I was curious though, have you incorporated intermittent fasting at all?
Well, yes. The goal on most days is 12 to 8. So I try to wait until 12 or noon and then try to stop eating. As I understand it, I'm certainly no expert, but as I understand it, that the 12 to 8 would be the 8, and then the 16 would be coming back around to the 12. But, you know, then my friend wants to go for a walk, and on the walk, she wants to stop off, you know, and have breakfast. And I'm like, well, it's only 10 o'clock, but I guess I'll just adjust, you know? So, you know, my understanding is that it's not the end of the world, but that it is ideal, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, and, you know, it's tricky at first. It's a little, but I mean, the program, if you will, if you want to call it a program, it tells you what to do to try to get through that, and how to handle those moments where you're feeling hungry. And you know, I just find it to be, once you get used to it, it's like quitting coffee or something crazy like that. The first couple of days are miserable. And then all of a sudden you're in the groove, and it's kind of like this. I mean, once you get the hang of it, you're kind of in the groove, and your body it's amazing what your body will adjust to. Again, to me, that becomes part of the wellness aspect, is being in that intermittent fasting thing. Is it supposed to be something that you do every day all the time, or is it something that you do in a variety way?
You can do it. Actually, you can do it any way you want.
Really?
You know, I've heard there's different versions of it too. There's the one where you just do every other day, like you go 24 hours, and then you know, there's just different versions. But I started with the 8-16 one myself, and I was really strict at first, but I think it was good for me to be strict, because you know, it taught me to not give in to those cravings at especially like between dinner and bedtime. There was always a spot, like when I first started doing that, where like in the old days, I would sort of wander out into the kitchen and get the crackers and the peanut butter, you know, that kind of thing out, and start doing. And when I started doing the intermittent fasting, I would still have the urge to go do that. And in fact, early on, a couple of times I got up and went into the kitchen, and then I stood there and I'm like, well, I'm fasting, so I can't have that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, but you know what? I'm not even hungry. Like, right. This is just a habit. It's got nothing to do with being hungry. Right. So that's what intermittent fasting taught me. It just taught me to really look at my behavior and be honest with myself. Like, am I really hungry or am I just bored? Or, that kind of thing. And then, so now after I've been doing it for several years, it's like, I'm a little more lax. Like you were saying, like if something comes up and I'm with some other people, I'm not going to be like, no, I can't do it. I may, have a little something, earlier in the morning when I usually would wait till later, that kind of thing. So I'm open-minded and flexible.
That is the hardest part for me, because here at the at West Park Gardens, which is the B&B, we put out some really nice muffins and some really nice cereal and granola and all that. And I'm typically the one putting it out in the morning. So not only is it outside of eating time or the 8, it's at that moment when you're like first thing in the morning, you're putting stuff out, you're kind of eyeing it going, but you're right. You just stop and just consider what it is that you're trying to do with your life on a bigger picture, a bigger view, and you just move on with it. Because, at some point you have to say, like I said, I'm not 14 anymore. I need to be an adult and say, this is what I really want to do. And I'm going to go for it, because it's by all accounts worth it. So I'm really excited by the way I feel these days, and I'm eating some really good food. So it's very fresh. It's very healthy. I don't feel like I'm being deprived of anything. I think that's a thing that a lot of people, have told me about. Oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. It's all about what you can't do. But what you can do is really good,
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's not like some little portion of some kind of thing, you're eating like steaks, and it's like, how can you complain?
It's not like Weight Watchers where you're having a spoonful of cottage cheese and a piece of lettuce and a half a pear, and you're sipping on your tea, and then 30 seconds later, after you devour that big monstrosity of nothing, you're hungry again. And then you just, so many people that I watch out there, they needlessly struggle by trying to find a diet that, look, let's just be honest, doesn't work. It does not work. The whole working out more than you're taking in calories, and the calories for you are based on whatever your point system is, or whatever system that you're working within, just not going to keep you fulfilled for the whole day. And that's why when we were talking off the air, when people truly do live the keto carnivore lifestyle, you start to you don't have those cravings. Those cravings start to diminish to the point that you start to see yourself. I mean, I think it gives you a great time to reflect. Like Brian was saying, I would say probably 50% of my life, I was eating food, not because I was hungry, because I was bored. It was a habit. Like traveling, we on a road trip, I had to always have a bag of something, whether it's Doritos or something, to reach in my hand, the bag, and eat.
Yeah. Like, well, for me, like being on the road all those years in a van, we'd pull into truck stops and stuff, and it was like, oh, we're stopping, and it was like time to go buy junk. You just run in there, just buy just a bunch of junk to eat, and sodas and all that stuff.
Big gulp.
And it wasn't because you were hungry. It was just like, well, we're here, might as well go buy some stuff.
Yeah. And so it really does cause you to reflect. I mean, I look back, and like I think I said this last week, Peg and I look back at the old pictures and look at us, and we try to talk about, where we were mentally in that place. And I think if you're honest with yourself, you'll start to look at yourself, you look at how you've lived your life, and you really are food we use as to fill a void. Whether, what are we going to go do? Well, let me call a friend. Let's go grab a pizza. Let's go to Taco Bell. And we center our to fill our emptiness that we believe we're having. We fill it with food and drink and other things. And when the reality of it is, I have noticed, and I was commenting to myself today, that the fact that, you start to realize and go, wow, I got so much more energy than I did when I used to eat that stuff. Like as you were saying there, Mr. Found, that you're getting up in age, but yet you got your plate's getting fuller and fuller.
Yeah.
And to be able to meet those demands that you're putting on your body, whether it's physical or mental, you need to have the right fuel to your body. And so many Americans these days walk around taking the advice they're getting from the person who's pushing the pill for them to take, and it's killing America. I mean, that's the sad part. I were talking earlier about healthcare, and I mean, healthcare it's not health insurance. Healthcare is something that you're in control of, and you don't have to pay anything for it other than the food and the fuel that you're going to fuel your body with. We get so caught up in the world gets you to believe that you have to have Obamacare or healthcare. People ask all the questions. I know, Brian, we talk about on the air all the time. Hey, what healthcare do you have, Brian, or do you have healthcare? And you almost feel guilty, but you don't need to feel guilty to say my healthcare is what I fuel my body with.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about how expensive meat is, but it's like, what's cheaper than life insurance or health insurance? And it is health insurance.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to realize that, we control, if you're going to eat crap and then go to a doctor and take a statin drug so you can live to visit him another day, you're probably not in a really good place. I mean, you don't have the energy. The reality of it is, don't you want to live free from outside sources, outside, eating your meat that you choose to pick? I mean, I love the fact that, we go out and we look for meats to buy, and like Brian saying, he's traveling around touring. Ooh, he gets a chance to try a different restaurant that serves meat, and when he's traveling through airports, finding what works, what he can get that's safe. And the reality of it is, when you're truly living a carnivore keto lifestyle, you don't need very much to satisfy the appetite to get you through wherever you're at the time. Eggs, bacon, hamburger, cheeseburgers, steaks, of course, ribeyes, prime rib. But, if you're not spending $1,200 a month for health insurance and another $1,000 for pills, you can have a freezer full of meat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you definitely, Jim, when you think about just the concept of food and what it is that you're doing when you sit down to a meal, I think that, so often, I don't mind taking some time. I talked about having the pre-cooked food to be able to take to work and things like that, but I don't mind taking the time to make a good meal. But I think that so many of us get caught up in the ease of delivery, where you can get anything sent to your front door, especially, a pizza. And, prior to a month ago, no one loved getting that pizza delivered as much as I did. And, the truth is, it's just like that food that you would be eating. It contributes to you wanting more and more and more of it. And just as the ease of delivery is also contributing, suddenly this is easy. Now your body's like, oh, this is simple. I don't have to think about what I'm going to eat. I just have to punch in a couple of buttons on my cell phone and dinner's out on the front porch, and that's something that happened during COVID when everyone realized they could get pretty much anything they wanted delivered. But, none of it seems to be as healthy as what I'm eating now. And, nothing. It was, things were going in the opposite direction in terms of weight and health and just general well-being. So it wasn't like it was, a mystery as you're ballooning up and feeling worse and worse and worse, and the inflammation is happening and all those things. You just know that you're not going in the right direction. So even though it takes a little bit longer to create a meal, it's easy enough to create enough food for a week where you really don't have to do much more than, get the food out of the refrigerator and have dinner, or like Brian was talking about, he had a great leftover that he had, it's really not that much harder, but the results are just, huge compared to what you'd be getting the other way around. I don't know. I just think that it helps you is helping me to value what a meal really is. And, you know, the concept that we have to be eating everything in front of us and all of it that's there as an all-you-can-eat buffet constantly isn't the way it was supposed to be. We're supposed to get some food so we could live, you know, and then move on with the rest of our life, not constantly be eating food because we're hungry all the time. And I'm not hungry all the time, I can tell you that. I eat a meal and I'm full.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, one of the cool things that I literally love to do, and I don't do it enough, but I love taking the time and finding a recipe of something I haven't made, and then going out to the store, buying all the ingredients, and literally taking my time. I mean, I'm sharing stuff I've never shared with anyone. I love the sound of a knife cutting the onions and the peppers and the aroma that comes from that. I love the butter and the skillet. All those different sounds and smells really makes it for a really awesome experience. And we were talking off the air before, but you know, there's very few restaurants that the food I get at the restaurant, I mean, it's good, but it's not as good as the food that we prepare at home.
Yeah, I
And
feel
so,
the same way.
yeah. And so, but I love being in the kitchen. I love the smell. I love putting together a meal that you've cooked, you've created, and you're sharing it. It's so much better than going to a restaurant. And, you know, like you said, Stephen, you know, the reality of it is people call Uber and Uber Eats, and, you know, everybody use Uber Eats, and we become so programmed to make everything easy, which, you know, goes with the whole pop and appeal, instead of doing the changes that really will benefit you and your body for the long term. I think we've been so busy just being busy that I think when you finally take time to breathe and start to take time to see what goes into preparing a meal, you know, it would also give you a better perspective too, because I know people go to a restaurant, they don't have their plate there in 5 minutes. They're like, this is terrible. Like, have you ever cooked before? You know, it's like you said, it's not the Jetsons. They're not hitting a button and it's boom, there it is.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing too. Actually, that whole, what you just described, it sort of applies to life itself. It's not the end result. It's the journey, you know.
Yeah.
It's the in between that counts. And that's where the gratification comes in, really. It's not and everybody wants everything instantly, and you know, and there's a huge price to pay for convenience.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of lose out, you know, you're right. It is about life. I mean, really it's life. I mean, we need to milk the journey for everything it has for us. Because if you, I mean, truly, if you were sitting there going on a road trip with your best friend, and you're going from the East Coast to the West Coast, and you're going, oh, we're going to stop and see this. We're going to stop and see this, you know, but you easily could have got on a flight and been there in 6 hours, but you would have missed all that. So really is the fun and the experiences are in the journey. When we shortchange the journey, we're missing out on all the experience and the joy that we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at Brian's beautiful kitchen. I mean, look at how nice it looks. I mean, it's probably as nice as any room in the house. I mean, why wouldn't you want to spend a couple of minutes in there each day? And I don't find preparing meals has set me back time-wise. It's not like suddenly I can't get done the things I'm doing because I'm spending so much time cooking, but it sure is a lot more fun. And you're right, the smells and the tastes and the flavors and the aromas. I mean, it adds flavor, literally adds flavor to your life. And, you know, who doesn't want flavors in their life? I mean,
yeah.
Who doesn't want a big old 2-inch ribeye or prime rib? You know,
Well,
the sad part, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just going to say, somebody commented on one of them. I took a picture of a steak. I was at my sister's but I still cook at my sister's house too. So I grilled these steaks, and I took the picture of it like I always do, and somebody commented, "Oh, you haven't mentioned Cracker Barrel lately," and it's like, you're just like, Cracker Barrel, like Cracker Barrel can't come close to this. I mean, it was such a good steak, and it's true, you know, I can get steak at a restaurant, but it doesn't come close to my, like when I cook it myself, there's just something special about that.
No, it is special. And you're truly, if you're watching this and you haven't cooked in a while, man, I encourage you, man, go on Google, find a recipe that you've never tried and go out and pick the ingredients, buy the ingredients, and spend the day just taking your time. Don't be in a rush, and just put together a new entree to try. All right, it's that time of the evening where we get a chance to check in with Mr. Brian Schenker of the MeatTribe for those meat deals of the week that you guys love. So Brian, what do you have for us this week?
Hey guys, don't have too much this week. Last week there was a lot of good stuff on sale, so hopefully everybody went out there and took advantage of that. But this week we've got, I'm kind of focusing on steaks only this week, except for one other product later. But Carnes out of Central PA, their deal runs through the 28th. They've got a choice grade boneless New York strip for $11.99 per pound. Food Lion, they have a deal going through the 29th. Choice grade boneless New York strip steak also for $9.99 per pound. Harris Teeter has their porterhouse and T-bone steaks on sale. So they have their rancher grade bone in. Obviously, if it's a porterhouse or T-bone, it's going to have a bone in it, right?
And they're not going to cut it, and they're not going to cut them in my Food Line. So,
well, this is Harris Teeter. So
Harris Teeter. Okay, yes. Who knows about that? What they'll do?
So the rancher grade porterhouse T-bone value pack steak for $6.99 per pound, or choice grade for $8.99 per pound, or the small pack rancher grade for $7.49 per pound. And then Kroger's got a couple of deals running through the 29th. They've got a choice grade boneless chuck roast. Obviously, the roasts don't have bones in them either. Buy one, get one free. So I don't know what the price per pound is, but it's buy one, get one free at Kroger for the chuck roast, choice grade. And then they also have strip steaks in a family pack, choice grade, on sale for $10.99 per pound. And the last deal, Giant Eagle through the 30th, certified Angus beef, bone in, Market District ribeye steak value pack at $12.99 per pound. A little bit higher than what we've seen at some other stores, but still not too bad.
All right, let's check in with the meat eater down in Nashville and see what kind of deals he's picked up lately.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this is left over from last week, but I found this yesterday. 4 ribeyes, $3.52 a pound.
That may be a record. I don't know if I've ever seen ribeyes that cheap.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was like normally, well, I think it was on sale to begin with because it looks like maybe it was just reduced even more.
So what's the big save? What's the save $10 sticker? What's that on there for? Is that because it's expired or what?
Save more when you buy more. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well, what store did you get that from?
That's from Kroger.
Okay, so last week the deal at Kroger was for ribeyes, New York strips, and sirloin steaks, 33% off.
Okay, I guess that's what this is then, because that's I mean, yeah, I saved $17.60 on that package.
Okay.
So that's in addition to the sales price. I mean, that's a great buy. You should have bought as many as those you could.
Yeah, what was I thinking?
What day did you go buy those? Was it like yesterday? You can run back there to see if there's still some?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah, there was only a few left, so I just grabbed like the best looking one. But yeah, I could probably run up there today real quick and just see if they're still there.
Yeah, I have to say that for a ribeye, that's the best deal we've seen since I've been doing this.
That may be the ribeye of the century.
Well, I think the reason I didn't buy more, they're kind of small ribeyes, not real thick.
Oh, yeah.
So I bought those for maybe like non-workout days when I don't want a huge honking steak.
Too funny.
Well, we appreciate you checking in with us, and hopefully next week we'll have some deals that are way below the $10 line, like that $3.39 or whatever Brian just paid for ribeyes at Kroger. I mean, that's a great haul.
Yeah, really. Fingers crossed.
All right, brother. Well, we'll see you next Friday night. Thanks for checking in with us.
Sounds good. Thanks. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
it's sad. Peggy went to go, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Peggy had to donate blood. She donates blood every 8 weeks to the Red Cross. And so I just sit outside and wait for her. And this elderly lady came out with her husband after giving blood, and he went to go get the car, and she just dropped. I mean, just dropped. And then these other guys were right there. I was about 100 yards away from her. And so these people rushed there. The husband rushed to her. They picked her back up, and then instead of just holding her, they let go of her again and turned around, and she dropped again. And I'm not laughing at her, but then they come out there, the Red Cross people, they called a medevac, they called the security, they called the sheriff, and everybody's there around her. And Peggy comes out and she's like, I think these people really do come to give blood just so they can get the snacks, because what do they bring? They bring out the snack stuff. And so, it's so sad that everywhere you go, especially in the healthcare, Red Cross or a hospital, they're constantly trying to push carbohydrates on you. It's the craziest thing to think that the place that you're supposed to trust to get well is the one that's pushing the sugar and the pills and the carbohydrates, which I just shake my head and go, wow, I don't want to be a part of that system anymore. And I'm so thankful that I'm not part of that system anymore.
Yeah.
So you're smiling there, Mr. Fallon. What you thinking? There's something going through that head of yours.
I'm just imagining what my next meal will look like that I'm going to prepare in the kitchen. That's what, and I think that focusing on the positive, focusing on what you get to do versus what you don't get to do is really important, just as a general living principle. And this is part of that. And you don't have to be held captive by someone who's not got your best interest at heart. It's a concept called beneficence, and it means that we try to do good for each other. We try to help each other. It's like you benefit somebody, and I think that this show and the fact that you bring a message that could just be kept in the privacy of your kitchen to people who listen or who want to listen or want to learn is really important, because these things do make a difference. And if you listen too carefully to what the world or media tells you, you might not think so, and you have to be careful about that. And I think for me, take matters into my own hands where I can, because I know that in general there's a lot of things I don't have control over, but this is definitely one thing that I can control. And I'm right with you. I love going and getting the ingredients. I love seeing the bowl with the fresh vegetables, the peppers, the cucumbers, the onions, all of those things kind of ready. I'm not sure what they'll be or what they'll turn into, but it'll be something good, and it'll be something tasty, and it'll be something healthy too. And I just have seen so many people my age who are, have prescription bottles lined up, and each day they have, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 30, their box. It's got 8, 10, 12, 20 things that they have to take. And I don't think that that's a requirement. That doesn't equal getting older. You don't have to look forward to that, that outcome. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person who's trying to stay healthy. And, looking at all the things that are out there, this has stayed the course. Like we were just saying a little while ago, it's been around for a while. So it hasn't gone the way of a lot of fads that you remember, there used to be this or there used to be that. This is gaining momentum. I can tell that this is, more and more people are talking, more and more people are posting, more and more people are on social media with their favorite keto recipe. And that's beginning to build community, and the community that does this kind of together is a really powerful force. And, that means that, I'm not going to walk out on a tree limb that I'm not sure of. I see all this group of people who's succeeding with their lives and their health. Why not be part of it? I mean, it doesn't require any special science. It doesn't require a degree to do it. And, I can do it in the comfort of my own home too. So I'm loving every minute of it, and I can't wait to report back at some point in the future.
Yeah, well, we'd love to have you back on. Talking about, you brought up the peppers and stuff. There is still nothing better to me than have the black iron skillet with butter and chopped peppers, green peppers, and onions, and salt with red mint salt poured on top of it, and just the smell. It's like green peppers and onions. That's a marriage made in heaven. Like they're made for each other. I mean, there's nothing better than in that black skillet having that. Then you can do whatever you want to go with. You want to use that for your steak. You want to throw eggs and make an omelet out of it. There's so many different ways you can go. But green peppers and onions were meant to be cooked in a black iron skillet and butter, with real butter. So, but with all that being said, Stephen, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your beginning journey on the keto lifestyle.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
And wow, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, when you told me how much you've lost in such a short period of time and how better you felt, I was like, wow, we got to get you on and let you share that story, because people, hopefully you're encouraged by the fact that in just 32 days, he's lost 19.5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's just amazing.
Painlessly, I would say, painlessly.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's including him cheating with chocolate last night. So that's
Oh,
awesome.
no.
He probably had 20 pounds.
The truth comes out.
No, you're good. You're good. But for those who are watching at home, if you've made it this far along, I'm going to let my co-host give you a bit of advice to help make your body stronger and boost your immune system. So what bit of advice would you give those, Brian?
Eat your meat.
Absolutely. And before we sign off here, where are you guys playing this weekend, Brian?
We're up in Connecticut. We're playing the Mohegan Sun Casino up there. Was it Uncasville? And then we're playing Debonair Music Hall in Teaneck, New Jersey on Saturday. So 2 shows.
All right. 2 shows. All right. We'll have a good 2 shows. And Mohegan sounds like they probably have some good, big old thick steaks there at that casino.
Oh, it's one of the nicer casinos we do. So I always look forward to going there.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, in the meantime, we'll see you guys next Friday. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay well, and stay out of that hospital. We'll see everybody.
See ya.